Whether you're travelling to London for business or for pleasure, we all love to get a bargain, and that is why so many people choose the Travelodge brand, because they know they're going to get a reasonable quality hotel at a good price. At least it's usually at a good price, but the problem with London is even in a Travelodge, if you stay in the wrong place, it can end up costing you a lot of money. I've put together my 4 favourite travel lodges in outer London, which do offer great value for money, but which still have easy access by public transport to central London. I've stayed at most of the travel lodges in London, and especially in outer London, and these are my 4 favourites in terms of quality, in terms of value for money, and importantly in terms of how long it takes you by public transport to get right into the centre of London. These are really good options because although on the map at least it appears they're a long way from the centre, they're all close to public transport links, which means that you can get right into the centre of London very, very quickly. So I've chosen one in the north, one in the south, one in the east and one in the west. And here are my 4 suggestions for really good value travel lodges that won't take too long to get into central London. If you're not familiar with London, then the first thing that's really important to understand is that travelling time does not necessarily bear a resemblance to the distance you are from the centre of London. So sometimes it makes sense to actually stay in outer London because it can be just as quick to get into central London as if you're already staying in central London. And of course you get a lot of cost savings by doing that. So today I'm going to be looking at outer London, and I'm going to be looking at the north, the west, the south and the east, and I'm going to be recommending one travel lodge from each of these areas. So to begin with, in the west I'm going to be looking at Hound Ltd Travel Lodge. This is not far from Heathrow Airport and it takes probably about 25 minutes to get into central London. And then after that I'm going to be looking in South London at a place called Croydon. Now Croydon on paper looks like it's a long way out from central London, but I'm going to give you some really good tips on how you can get right into the centre of London very quickly from Croydon. Then thirdly, we're going to be going to East London to a place called Barking. Now again, Barking is on paper at least a long way from central London, but it's also very, very quick to get into the centre. So keep watching and I'll give some tips about staying in Barking. And then finally, we're going to finish in the plush, leafy suburbs of North London in an area called Whetstone, and that's an area I'm very familiar with because I used to live near there. And again, it's a long way out, but it does have very fast access into central London. So they're the 4 travel lodges we're going to be looking at today in north, south, east and west. We're going to be looking at Whetstone in the north, Hounslow in the west, Croydon in the south and Barking in the east. And I'm now going to give you some really good tips on which one of these you should choose to stay at depending on your own personal circumstances. So let's get started with Hounslow. Now Hounslow is quite close to Heathrow Airport, so if you are flying into Britain then it could make a very good choice. It's only about 15 minutes by tube to Heathrow Airport. It's in Zone 4 and it's on the Piccadilly line. And a really big bonus about Hounslow is that the Travelodge is literally only about 3 minutes walk from the tube station. So of all the Travelodge hotels that we're going to be dealing with today, Hounslow Travelodge is the closest to an underground station. So if you don't want to have to do a lot of walking between your hotel and the underground, then Hounslow is definitely the one to stay at. It's literally just a few minutes walk from your hotel room to the nearest tube station. Hounslow Central is the nearest tube station. It's on the Piccadilly line, which is the dark blue line, and it's in Zone 4. So it'll take you maybe about 25 minutes to get into central London. And of course you are closer to all the tourist attractions of West London as well, which makes it quite a good place to stay. There's a very nice bar area. The rooms are spacious. The one disadvantage I found with Hounslow is there's no air conditioning, and it can be a little bit noisy if you open your windows. And if you want more information about this, then have a look at my film that I've made on the Hounslow Travelodge, which is on this YouTube channel. So that's Hounslow, and then moving over to South London, we're going to be taking a look at Croydon. Now, Croydon is quite a long way out from central London, but fear not, it's really well served by public transport. In fact, there are 3 different public transport options. Firstly, you've got Thameslink, which is a fast overground service that goes right across London from north to south. But you've also got overground trains, so you can go to East Croydon station, which is about 5 minutes walk away, and get either overground trains or the trams. But you've also got the option of West Croydon station, which is a little bit further away, but also has several good connections into central London. In fact, it'll only take you about 15 minutes if you use an overground train from East Croydon station all the way into central London. That's right, 15 minutes, that's all it takes on the overground train, and about 5 minutes walk from the Travelodge to East Croydon station. It'll take about 15 minutes to walk to West Croydon, but for most of the places you want to go to in London, it's just as easy to go to East Croydon station a few minutes away, and then a 15-minute overground train all the way into central London. And these trains run really late into the night as well. So that's Croydon. Now moving on to East London, Barking. Now Barking is on the District line, which is the Green Line. It's also in Zone 4. And it's great for East London if you're doing anything in the East London area. For example, if you have a meeting at Canary Wharf, or if you're going to an event at the O2 Arena, or if you're doing something else in Docklands. But it's also only about 25 minutes right into central London. And it's about a 10-minute walk to the Underground station, which is the District line, Zone 4. There are loads and loads of shops nearby, loads of restaurants, pubs. It's a really vibrant area. There's a fantastic market as well, about 5 minutes walk away. There's several big supermarkets. It is a really good area of London to stay in, and it'll only take you about 25 minutes to get right into the centre of London. So Barking, another good cheap option. And another cheap option in a much posher area of London is the Whetstone Travelodge. Now this is the one I know the best because I used to live in a place called Finchley, which is just down the road from Whetstone. It is the leafy suburb area of London. It's quite posh, it's quite expensive. If you want a plusher experience, then you are going to get much nicer restaurants and posh shops around this area. It's about a 10-minute walk from the Travelodge to Totteridge and Whetstone station, which is on the Northern line, and it's in Zone 4. So the Northern line is the black line, and it takes about 20-25 minutes into central London on the Northern line from Zone 4. The Whetstone Travelodge has one massive advantage, and that is in terms of parking. Now, unlike the others, you can get free parking in the Whetstone area. It's a lot more difficult in Hounslow, Croydon and Barking, but in Whetstone there is a lot of free street parking just outside the hotel. I've stayed at all of these hotels many times, and I've stayed at Whetstone several times recently, and I've had no trouble at all finding somewhere to park almost outside the hotel, completely free of charge. And it's a very safe area. It's a very nice area, and your car will be safe. The rooms at Whetstone aren't particularly brilliant. They are a little bit small, and it's fairly basic as a Travelodge, but it does have that massive advantage of being in a nice area and also having that free parking outside. Well, I hope you found that useful. I've been to nearly all of the Travelodges in outer London and many of the ones in inner London, and these are my 4 favourites. But I'm going to make some more films that suggest others that offer good value for money. If you found this useful, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, all that kind of thing. I make films about budget hotels throughout the United Kingdom, mainly in the big cities, and mainly the type of hotels that are suitable for a business audience, although it could be fine for tourists, families, absolutely anyone, but primarily for business people who are travelling around the country. Thanks for watching. My name's Darren Bugg, and I'll see you again very soon.